Well, hello. That's right. I mean, everybody's shocked that I'm actually here today, not just Amy taking over and taking care of us. And I'm Ed Parcaut, one of the hosts. I'm here with Amy T. Meyer today, and we are the host of. And, Amy, let's bring in today's guest right away. His name is Richard. I assume it's Kaufman. Am I right?
Yep.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
All right. All the way from the Jersey Shore.
Yep. Jersey's in the house. Dirty Jersey.
All right. So we always like to get into first thing we always ask is what service you got into and then tell your story. Are you good with getting going?
Whatever. Let's roll.
All right. LinkedIn's having a little issue today with our live. I apologize. All right. Let's get going. Richard, tell us your story. What service did you join and why?
My name is Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, I'm a United States Army veteran. Spent 23 years in between regular duty, active duty, and National Guard. Got thrown out the first time. I did 2.5 years. Got thrown out for being a drug addict and alcoholic. Got back in a couple years later. Still had an attitude. I was still an asshole. And they decided to throw my ass out for a second time. But because of what happened on the morning of 9/11, it totally changed my life and the trajectory of my life. So, from going to be almost being kicked out, having my 6th Article 15, within 3 years, won Soldier of the Year, became a non-commissioned officer, and spent a total of 23 years in the military until I got hurt on a training accident where I'm 80% blind. So if you can see me, I can't see you. And obviously the military teaches you, you can't see, you can't shoot. So they medically discharged me on Memorial Day 2012. And that was the day that I attempted suicide. Thank God it didn't go through. And now I spend my time helping veterans that are struggling in life also and in business. So that's a little bit about me. And I don't have any cool Army stories to tell. My first couple years, I was that shitbag that everybody had in the platoon. That was me. But what saved my ass the first couple years is once we got in the field, I was the ultimate soldier. You want me to stay up 72 hours, 5 days straight, whatever. I got you. But you put me in the rear with the gear, I got locked up. Like I said, I got just on active duty, I had 6 Article 15s and 2 field grades. So I was that kind of guy. And that's why after 2.5 years, Uncle Sam decided he didn't want me as a nephew and decided to boot my ass out. So I was never a great soldier until after the morning of 9/11. And that's when I tried to become the ultimate soldier.
What about, was it the whole thing about 9/11 that made you change, or that what happened and you just said overnight, or what really changed for you?
No, it actually happened while everything was transpiring. Because like we talked about before we got on, where I'm sitting right now, I can go on at my porch and see where the Twin Towers once stood. And we knew people that were in the towers that day. And I'm watching it on TV. Pictures, I'm watching it on TV in South Carolina, and I'm due to be thrown out of the National Guard and out of the military for the second time. And all my TA-50 and all my shit is to the right of the TV. And as I'm watching this stuff unfurl, because it was all live back then, there was no editing. There was people jumping out of the buildings, hitting the concrete. You'd hear it, the thump, and you'd hear people, see them pulling bodies out of the Pentagon. And something broke inside of me. And I literally became a broken man at that moment. And I literally cried out. In my book, I cried out to the Lord. I said, Lord, if you give me another chance, I want to dedicate the rest of my life to helping those who can't help themselves. And that's when my life really started to change from that moment on. That's why I believe that the 3 most important words in English language are the day I decide. You don't have to be the same person when you went to bed on that Tuesday. That was when I woke up that Tuesday morning. So that's when I became an agent of change and trying to save as many lives as I can.
Wow. Amy, you have anything? Because you usually talk all the time.
I know. What was can you figure out was the first step that you, once you said that prayer that you did, like, did you start going through your gear and getting ready for a deployment, or did you have a conversation with somebody? What was your first thing that you did?
I called my company commander. I called my first sergeant. I asked for a meeting with them the same day. And now they heard my bullshit before, because like I said, I've been busted a bunch of times. And I was in their office, I think, more than anybody. But they said they seen something different in me. And they seen that I was a changed man. And, you know, even though I got busted from E4 to E1, the last drill, so I got busted again, they decided to keep me because they seen something different in me. And then the next weekend, drill weekend, and that's when everything started to change, was that drill weekend.
Wow. And so were you reservist or active duty in the?
At this time, I was a National Guardsman.
Okay. So when did you switch over?
Well, I was active duty for the first 2.5 years when I got booted out. And then we got deployed in 2003. So I spent about 2 years on active duty in support of an Operation Enduring Freedom.
Okay. And then go ahead, Amy.
So once you had conversations with your chain of command, how did you change your soldiering? Like, how did you change how you went to work even?
Well, I knew that drill starts at 7 o'clock. And so I decided my way is not working. So I got there 2 hours early. And I started to see all the successful people, it's first sergeants, company commanders, platoon leaders, platoon sergeants, getting there an hour and a half early, staying an hour and a half late. So I just started doing what the successful guys did. Even though I just got busted from E4 to E1, I started hanging around, or actually bugging anybody over the rank of E7. I was constantly up their ass. And I think that's what really taught me, because that's when I started realizing that success leaves clues. And if you want to be successful, you got to start doing what the successful people were doing, because my way, obviously, after 6 Article 15s, was not working.
Well, I was just waiting for Amy to keep talking. But anyway, I'm going to take over. All right. So so you were doing this, and then you were in for, you said, a full 20 some years. So yeah. What happened? So after you did this and you started watching other people get in early, when did you go back over to any of the places, or were you here the whole time?
No, everything was home, home base. Everything was wherever we got deployed was all across this U.S. seaboard. So I never went overseas to do anything like that. So I don't have any cool stories. The only war I had is the war between my ears. And if you count my 2 divorces, those were great wars too. But I don't have any cool stories to tell.
But you did get injured on a training accident, right? I mean, during training. So what happened there? Do you mind talking through that?
What happened was, it was my first drill in the New Jersey National Guard. So I moved back because of my future wife. Love will make you do crazy things. So I moved back to New Jersey, and on my first annual training drill, we were going down a highway, and one of the vehicles in front of me, they broke down. So I had to pull it off the road and recover it. And it was a young private. I think he was an E2. It was his first drill with us. First time driving an up armored Humvee. So I got out. I had to recover the vehicle, and I had to back my vehicle off the road. So as I'm giving the young private hand and arm signals, he got screwed up somehow. And instead of him hitting the brakes, he hit the gas, ran over the whole right side of my body, ran over my head, which caused me to have an ocular stroke, which is why I'm blind today. And so I got up, because back then I was jacked. I was taking some stuff I guess I might not should have taken, but I just shook it off. I was like, whatever. But after within a couple hours, I started losing the vision in my left eye, and by the end of the 2-week training, which I didn't miss any of the training at all because I was too hardcore to go for help or anything like that. I was totally blind in my left eye, and that's when eventually when I had to tell them what about my eye, and they sent me to the Warrior Transition Unit for like a year, and that's then eventually 2012 was when they told me, Sergeant Kaufman, you're no longer a member of the United States military, and that sent me down a really deep, dark path.
And how did you get out of that path? I know you talked beforehand that you tried to commit suicide, and so after that, how did everything change?
Well, what happened? Yeah. What happened was because for the last 20 years of my career, I did everything to become the ultimate soldier. I went to every class. I reclassified like 3 times with 3 different MOSs. I would always volunteer for everything. So, and I took all correspondence courses just to get my GT up. So I did everything I could to be Sergeant Kaufman. But that moment when they said, you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman, I didn't know who Richard was. And it scared me to death. So I decided I'm going to go out because I bought a brand new truck. I decided I'm going to go out to my truck. I'm going to call my wife because I know this is going to be the last time I'm going to talk to her. And I decided that I was going to, get my truck up to 100 miles an hour and turn on the radio and just shut my eyes and take my hands off the wheel. And eventually it's going to hit a concrete barricade, and that'll be it for me. So I called my wife, told her I love her and I love the kids. I knew I was never going to talk to her again. But I got in the car and I hit 100 miles an hour. I turned on the radio and I closed my eyes and I'm listening to the radio. And now I have a 9-month-old daughter at home. And a song called I Saw God Today came out. And it was at that moment that I decided to be a daddy and a husband. So I jerked the wheel and I pulled over, got my bearings, and I got to my wife and I said, honey, I said, if I don't get help, I'm going to be eating my gun come Monday morning. And obviously Monday was a holiday, but I called the VA on Tuesday morning, and I went in to go see a therapist, and she's been my therapist for the last 12 years. And that was the day I had to reimagine my life and reinvent myself to doing what I do now, which is helping people that struggled through the same shit that I went through. Because, and I've had like 360 interviews on my show. I've interviewed a lot of people. And I find that people that act out as adults, it was the trauma they suffered from ages 3 to 12, or you join the military, or you have alcohol, and it becomes like the perfect storm. And nobody really knows how to get somebody out of the perfect storm unless they've been there. And that's when I decided, if I can make it, I can help somebody else make it. And that's when I decided to really try to help as many people as I can dealing with the same stuff that I do.
Thank you for sharing that. How do you help people right now? How do you do that? I know you wrote a book from what we talked about before, but I mean, what do you go through? Are you a counselor? What do you do for vets while you're helping them?
I mean, obviously I'm not a counselor. I mean, I'm only a 9th grade dropout that's been through a lot of shit. But my book, the reason I put my book out, it's my story. But the last 2 chapters are, what addiction looks like. It's not what you think it looks like. And what suicide looks like and not what you think it looks like. So the book is a teaching book. But now my main focus is on speaking on stages and speaking on summits and also my podcast, which helps veterans that are struggling in life and in business. So I'm on a couple of different areas, and I do private coaching, but it's only one-on-one coaching, and a person has usually dealing with addiction, with any kind of addiction or any health, fitness addiction, or mental health issues, and I help them as much as I can. And then if it goes beyond my scope, I help others. I get them the help that they need. But now in my past, this whole time I was in the military, I always worked in a gym, a GNC. So I worked with players from the NFL, Major League Baseball, WWE, NBA. So I always help people get healthy, get physically healthy again. So I have a big background in health and fitness also. So any kind of issues, I can pretty much help somebody out, unless it's beyond my scope, and then I'll get them the help that they do need.
Amy?
There's so many questions.
Good. I'm gonna put us all together so that he's not just by himself anymore. Is that okay?
So, Richard, I think that's, thank you so much for your story. That's super impactful. And you'd said before we started that all the proceeds from your book go to helping veterans. So does that mean like direct, you have this veteran over here and you help buy groceries or whatever, or do you donate towards certain nonprofits in your area?
Well, like as you guys see, the shirt that I'm wearing is called "Today I Decide." I did something crazy. I didn't think I was going to do it, but my story, I put it out on I did a video and it went live I put it on YouTube and it went viral. And I decided to throw my own mental health summit. So last April 3rd, we had our own mental health summit with 10 different speakers from around the world come in and to help veterans and first responders. And it was free for everybody. Nobody paid for anything. Everything was free. So in my theory, like I work with certain nonprofits. I'm working with a nonprofit right now called Project Die Hard 22. All my money goes to them. I don't make a penny off my coffee. I don't make a penny off my merchandise. I don't make a penny off anything I do. It all goes to help others. So that's my goal, is to make an impact, because like my friend Gary Vaynerchuk, when we had lunch and we talked, that was something that we really talked about, how your legacy will always be more valuable than your currency. So I'm more worried about changing lives and changing the world than I am worried about lining my pockets. So everything and everything I got, and you can talk to anybody that knows me, it always goes out to help others. I don't make, and it's by design that I don't make any money off of, because people don't believe you if they know that there's an ulterior motive. So that's why I do what I do. Because like when I go speak in prisons, when I go speak in rehabs, people know if you're bullshitting them. And if they know, well, he's just trying to sell his merchandise or his book, they're not going to believe what you're talking about. So that's why I hardly ever even talk about my book or my merchandise or my coffee. I forget about it most of the time, and people got to remind me, oh, you do have a #1 book. I just forget because it's not important to me.
You have coffee?
Yeah, it just came out. Vertical Momentum, high-powered coffee. This is your coffee. This is my coffee. And I tell everybody, don't tell them because I might get sued, but you don't want Folgers in your cup. You want something made from soldiers in your cup, because it's actually the owner that makes the coffee is actually a United States veteran. So he actually roasts the coffee. So everything is veteran orientated in anything I do. All my business partners, all veterans, no civilians.
And if somebody wanted to get your coffee, and where do they find it at?
They could just go to hashtag Vertical Momentum, and it'll come up on everything that I'm doing. And 100% of the proceeds, my proceeds, go once again to helping other veterans and veteran business owners.
All right, you keep bringing up business owners. How do you help business owners?
Well, like for the guys that make my coffee, all business owners. The guys that do my websites, the guys that do my graphics, everybody is a business owner. But my podcast, which I've had people like Mr. John Lee Dumas, Tony Watley, they come on and they talk and they help veterans that are trying to get businesses off the ground, give them actionable steps, how to start businesses, how to market them, how to do graphics. So it's everything is veteran centric, because I notice a lot of people when they get out of the military, they don't know what to do, and they really don't fit into a regular 9 to 5. So they want to become entrepreneurs, but they don't know how. So they listen to Vertical Momentum, and they can actually get advice from 6, 7, 8, 9-figure earners that they won't get anywhere else. And they know it's veteran centric. So they know it's for them.
So that's the name of your podcast?
Yep. Vertical Momentum Resiliency Podcast. Because I talk everything from business. I just had somebody on that I'm releasing the episode in about 30 minutes about CBD and how CBD might be able to help with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, CTE. So it has everything. Every episode has to do with a veteran or a first responder. And it's because, usually if one thing is off, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, everything else is thrown off. So this is the perfect podcast for veterans. And I actually have my avatar. I have it really broken down to like the nth degree of who my avatar is. So I know exactly who every episode is going out to.
Wow. Cool. Just need to step up our game here, Amy.
I think he's calling us out.
No, Absolutely. You guys are doing an amazing job. I'm truly humbled just to be able to be invited here.
It's our pleasure, actually. You don't understand. We're trying to make a momentum movement going forward so that everybody can get together and know where to go, because there's so many services out there, but vets just don't know they're out there. And that's the worst thing that we can do. And now there's so many ways to connect, right? Through social media everywhere, that there's no reason at all. If you need help, there should be easily find a way to get help. And so that's why we want people on who do that kind of stuff.
But the problem is, but I'm seeing it now more days. We know the police officers, there's the thin green line. Thin blue line. I just interviewed a gentleman yesterday. He spent 30 days on the pile pulling people out of the World Trade Center during 9/11. So there's the thin red line, and we have a thin green line that, we may not be able to talk to our wives, our husbands, our girlfriends, whatever. But even if just meeting you guys, say in a bar or a restaurant, within 5 minutes, we'll all open up to each other because we all raised our right hand. And I think a lot of veterans are afraid to talk to anybody that's not a veteran because they don't know where you've been. So I think if we can get more people that are veterans like us that are willing to, pick up the phone, and I tell everybody, stop doing that 22 push-ups a day. It's bullshit. How about, text 22 people. Why not direct message 22 people, a day? That would make more of than somebody seeing you doing push-ups. But that's my opinion. So I catch a lot of shit for it. But for me, it's true. Like for me, I send out 22 direct messages every day to people that I'm on my friends list, just to let them know, hey, I love you and I appreciate you. And some people be like, you know what? I felt really down today. I needed that. And I think that's what we need. We need people that are willing to, just say, hey, bro, are you okay? And then you're going to say, I'm okay. Then you're going to be like, but are you really okay? And that's when you can start the dialogue and people start talking.
And I don't think that just vets have a problem reaching out to other vets. I think vets in general have a problem talking about their problems. They're too proud to talk about them. And we always say here, when you were over there, if you needed support some way, air support, you called in for it and they came and supported. What's the difference now of asking for help for something else for you? And that's what you need to look at it that way, not look at it, I'm weak. No, you're not weak. You're helping yourself get better. If you needed that help over there or anywhere you were, you actually called for it. So
yeah, and like for me, like I said, I've been in recovery 33 years, and they always talk about sometimes the heaviest thing to pick up is a telephone. And it takes more strength to pick up a telephone than to pick up a weapon. So that's my opinion on it anyway.
I think one of the questions that we always ask also is, we actually ask two questions, like, what do you use today that you learned in the military? And then I always follow it up with, what did you walk away from when left in the military, or think people should leave in the military when they transition into civilian life? We
don't ask these questions. Amy asked these questions.
He asked it first.
Well, the first question I would say was, when we're in the military, we know how to draw a 9-line or an SOP. And unfortunately, when we get out of the military and we want to start businesses or start something great, we don't make a business plan, or we don't make a plan. We just kind of wing it. So I think that's something that I've taken now is everything I do has to have a plan. Because like one of my friends says, Mr. Stephen Kuhn says, if you don't have a business plan, you don't have a business, you just have a hobby. So that would be the one thing I took away from it. And I don't know, everything was positive. The only thing I don't like in the military was micromanaging bullshit. Like, I was a tank commander and I had 3 people under me. If me and my driver didn't get along, we would take our top off, go beat the shit out of each other behind the tank and be done with it. And we'd go have dinner together on the front slope and talk it out. I think that's one thing I really hated at the end of my career was paperwork and doing all that stuff and not being able to just handle stuff the way people used to handle it back in the day. Because when I got in, I was 17. I was a young buck. When I got out, I was the old man. So I guess I'm still a little bit of that old school kind of guy. I love that old school military.
Was that good enough for you, Amy? Were you good with those? All right.
It was excellent. Thank you.
All right. Just checking. Before we go, because, we keep these at 30 minutes. Is there anything else you want to put out there for vets, or anything you want to just leave before we go?
Yes. If you guys would do me the honor, if you guys would go to your toolbar and type in hashtag today I decide, you can actually go to the summit and listen to those 10 great speakers if you're struggling with anything with mental health. And it's a free summit. Nobody charges for anything. So it's all about paying it forward. So, and just remember that today I decide are the 3 most important words in the English language. And if you want to make a decision to change, it only takes one decision to change. Then all you have to do is act upon that decision. So that's what I would say, is that just to make sure to change your life. If you want to change, you can change. You just have to make that decision to change and then act upon it.
There you go. The only thing I miss about the military, because it used to be called a number sign. Right?
Yeah. It'd be wonderful to find out why it changed, or
it just had to have a new cool term so they could use it and say it after something. Just didn't sound the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. They just everything has to change, even though it's the same, just to make it seem newer than it used to be. Everything does. Yeah.
And just so people can actually have an excuse.
Yeah. It's a hashtag.
And they have to use that voice.
Yes, they do. Haven't you ever heard that? That's exactly what they do. Anyway, Richard, it was great having you on the show today. I really appreciate you spending the time with us. Amy, anything you want to say before we go?
No, thank you. I appreciate your story as well. Yeah. And we will connect again, I'm sure.
And now I'm going to throw this out there live. I want to have both you guys come on my show individually.
Okay.
Tell your stories on my show.
That will work. Send us their links. We'll get all set up.
Let's do it.
Right. And remember, hashtag today I decide. Go check it out. Go through it. And if you want to contact Richard, contact him. He'll help you out. And again, I want to thank both of you for being here today, especially Amy. You've taken care of this while I've been gone for the last couple of weeks. And Richard, thank you so much for being on today. And everybody else who's watching this or during it, we appreciate you. If you like what we're doing here, just follow us and let us know. And again, thank you again.
Okay.
And have a great day.